Hello, welcome back to Cooking the Haydens. Oh, I hope you're all doing well. I made you wait a bit there before I came on. Put the little graphic up. Hey, I hope you're all doing well, and I hope some of you managed to get to boot sales this morning. Or, yeah, well, boot sales, jumble trails, I don't know. Are jumble trails even a thing at the moment? Maybe it's too cold. I don't know. Whatever you've been doing, I hope you've been able to get some stuff or get some listing done or get some work done. Before we get cracking, we'll give a chance for a few people to get in the chat before we get going on today's somewhat unusual live chat. Let's see who we've got in. I know Night's Life was the first in because he made a comment hours ago. So Richard was the first in, but his comment's gone off my screen, so I don't know if it's on yours. But the Dave is in as well. Hi, the Dave. Hello, mate, he says. All right. Tori's popped in as well with some nice emojis. Who else do we have? Chris Tyler. Hello, hello, hello. What's going on here? Yeah, that's very original, Chris. Very original. Nice one. JR Reselling. Hi, Chris and everyone in the chat. Oh, yes, he sent me a message. If you're not subbed to Richard Knight's live, he's very, very close. He's this close to having 1,000 subs. So go and check out the channel if you've never seen it before. But I think most of you have probably already subbed. JR, if you remember a bit later on, maybe when there's a few more people in the chat, drop the same message in and we'll do it again. And we'll remind people to get on there because he's such a good channel. Yeah, very close. 23 subs away from hitting 1K. Hi, Tom. We've also got Tam and Bell. Hi, guys. I don't know which one of you it is or if it's both of you. I don't know. Let's see who we have. JR's put that in twice. Do it again later, then you can remind me again. Because my memory is terrible, literally. Everyone knows that. My memory is terrible. Let's see who else we've got. Jeff is in as well. Hi, Jeff. Joanne. Joanne is in from France. Vive la France. Matt sells stuff. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. Soul Steps. Movie Chats is in. Yeah, lazy Sunday afternoon. Let's just have a chilled out chat. Oh, hopefully it'll be chilled out and it doesn't trigger too much stress for me. Hopefully not. We'll take it easy. Yeah, everyone's saying hello, hello, hello. Laura. Who else do we have? I won't go that far, JR. I won't go that far, but yeah, no problem. No problem. We'll do it again later. Let me know. Remind me. Chop's in. John at YLM is in. Oh, here we go. Hang on a second. It's both Chris and bell here. Tam printing labels next to me. Okay. Getting some work done. Is everyone else doing a bit of work this afternoon while tuning into this, or are you tuning in especially to watch it, or what? I don't know. Let me know what you're up to. Tat Dr. Ian's in. Hi, Chris in chat. Did you get anything good for your 50th? I think you must have me mixed up with someone else, mate. Sorry, that's awkward. Awkward. I think you got me mixed up, mate, with someone else. Let's see, who else do we have? Dave's popped in with an early question, early doors. Were you the only family member who joined the forces? My sister was going to join, and my mum back in the day, but was only 5'6". Yeah, I'm the only one who joined the cops. I'm just a one-off. I don't think they have a height limit anymore. I think they've abolished that. They did back in the. Yeah, I think they even did when I joined. I think they had a height requirement. Patrick says is in. Hi, Patrick. Patrick Cusack. Watch this first, then listen stuff. Oh, that's good. I'm aiming for an hour. Today, so as not to keep your Sunday afternoon for too long. But we'll just see how it goes. We'll see how things go now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no height limit anymore. There's some really short police officers in now. Let me just crack open a drink. So today, what I thought we'd do, because I've not spoken that much about my time as a police officer, and I just thought it might be interesting to have a chat about it. I've got all kinds of information here. I've been digging out all my old stuff. I've got awards and certificates and letters of thanks and good work minutes and newspaper articles and all kinds of little bits. I've kept a lot of stuff from my time. And it's been quite good sort of just looking back through it this morning when I was doing a bit of research for today's show. And I've got a few notes written down here to remind me about things that happened when I was a police officer, and some funny stories, some sad stories, and just a reminder of, how it all went down for 13 years. It feels like a blur to me. It feels like an out-of-body experience. I don't think anybody would look at me. I mean, you might say, you might be wrong. I might be wrong here, but I don't think anybody would look at me and think he was a copper. I don't think that, but that's me looking at myself. I don't know how people see me, because it's hard to know, isn't it? But I don't feel like, I definitely wasn't a stereotypical copper as you think about cops. Because in the police force, you need people of all different abilities, all different demeanors, and different skill sets. There's no good having a police force full of cops who want to kick doors in and, carry out arrests and warrants and, heavy-handed tactics. That's not how it works. You need people of all different demeanors, because everybody has a role to play, especially when you're in a team. Everyone has a role to play in that team. You know who you can call on for different things. And I was always very community minded. So I was always thinking about people and how we can help somebody solve the problem that they've got, because being a police officer is very much about problem solving. And I was always of the mind of, I wanted to help people in their situation, whatever it was they were calling us for. And that is why I sort of joined the police, to, because I thought I had something to offer people. I'm a decent kind of person. I think I am. And I treat people in a nice way, how you want to be treated yourself. And there was like a I'm going ahead of myself because I've not done a bit of an intro yet, but I'll just finish this little spiel. There's kind of like, there was always like a mantra in the police or a thought process that people don't remember what you say to them. You know, like if I'm dealing with someone's crime or an incident, or I'm dealing with a victim or somebody who's been hurt, injured, they don't remember what you say to them, but they always remember how you made them feel. And I carried that around with me for my entire police service, that people will always remember how you made them feel. So whether you solved their crime or not is irrelevant, really. It's not, but it is, because over time, they'll always remember. If you made them feel bad by not dealing with them in the correct manner, they'll remember it. If you made them feel good and you made them happy, or you solved their problem, they'll remember. But they always remember how you made them feel. So when I always spoke to people in the community, people who rung the police and dealing with incidents, I always had that in the back of my head, you know, to be nice and to be respectful, and remember that that is what they're going to take away with them, how you made them feel. So that is kind of how I went about things. I wasn't a kick the door in, ask questions later kind of thing. That wasn't me. Plenty of people that were like that, but that's not me. Before I do a bit of an intro about how I joined the cops and stuff, I'll just see where you're all up to. I'm going to try and keep up with the chat. If any of you have got a question at any time, so I don't know how busy or how many people are going to actually tune into this, but we've got nearly 50 at the moment, which is nice. If you have got a question, just stick question in capitals so that I can see it when because when I'm talking about stuff, I'm going to get sidetracked. I know I am. So yeah, put question in capitals and then follow on with your question, and I'll do my best to answer. There might be times when I can't answer a question because it's not right to answer it. I'm going to be 100% respectful to everything that I've dealt with in the police and to the people that I've dealt with, the situations, and I've got a lot of respect for my former colleagues and people who are police and work in the police family now. So I would never say or do anything that would bring that into disrepute. So don't ask me anything that's going to do that, and I'm not going to say anything negative like that. Chris, maybe I'm missing a trick, but what's the monkey all about? It's just sat there. It's, you know, I don't know. I'm going to keep him. I'm not selling him. I'm going to keep him. It's very bright in here, isn't it? Look how bright it is behind. Is it all right, the picture, or are we too bright in here? Let me just alter this a little bit. Let's go down a bit. What about that? It's very bright. Just posted a picture of Chris with Cookie at the beach. Yeah. Hi, Lana. Can't be in two places at once. Very true, very true. Leanne was in the police as well. Yeah, I joined Hants Constabulary in 1973. That was before I was born, Leanne. And left in 83 to have my first child. I was not encouraged to stay in, even if you had children, and frowned upon, and the bosses went out of their way to make it difficult. Oh, things are so much different now, I think, Leanne. And that kind of era was a lot different, wasn't it? That was like the Life on Mars era, wasn't it? If you've ever seen the series Life on Mars, I'm not saying it was 100% like that, but I get the impression that there was some element of truth in it. But well done for doing your time. Doing your time. That's like being in prison. Best way to be, Chris. Yeah, definitely. It's so bright in here. It's proper winding me up. Anyway, Night's Life has popped in. Watch the rest on cast, chat up, driving for no problem. Feel free to watch back later. I think most people, actually, most police officers are like that, Leanne, actually, to be honest with you. I think most are there to do their best for people. I genuinely believe that, having worked with a lot of different officers, the majority are like that. The Dave says, my dad was in the army for 27 years. I enjoyed the lifestyle, but never followed his footsteps. Wow, now he's a almost fully qualified airline pilot. Wow, that's nice. That would have been that would have been a dream job for me, to be an airline pilot. Can we all call the monkey bell? Yeah. JR's got a question. I haven't even done the intro yet. I'll get to the bottom of the chat quickly. Questions. What's the biggest life lesson you have learnt from being in the police? Oh my God. What a question to ask me. I would say always stick to your principles. Stick to what you know is right, and don't matter what other people do. Doesn't matter what pressure you're under. Stick to your principles, and if you think it's right, I don't give a crap if it's a superintendent or a chief constable telling you to do something. You stick to your guns. I would say that, because there's a lot of pressure, actually, especially when you're new in service. Certainly when I joined, there was a lot of pressure from higher ranks to do the job in a certain way. Let's just leave it like that. And I would say, if you think something is not the right way to do it, then have courage in your conviction. Question, Chris, did the blokes on your shift treat the female officers with respect and one of the team? When I joined, it was a battle. Yeah, whenever I was, for my entire time in the police force, which was 13 years, always treated it exactly the same as everyone else. Right, before we move on, I'm just going to tell you a bit, so we get some background about how I joined the cops and why, and what roles I've done, and then that might help us lead through to like some questions or something. So I've got some notes here just to prompt my memory. So when I applied for the police, that was the period when I had my own shop in Stockport. I applied because my time as a shopkeeper, a shop proprietor, was coming to an end. I knew it was going to come to an end, and so I thought I wanted to have a career of some kind, a decent, long-lasting career. That's what I was looking for. I wasn't one to job hop. I didn't want that. I wanted a long-lasting career, and I saw an advert in the paper. I remember it clear as day. I was stood in my shop playing games and watching TV, and I was reading the paper, and there was a full page ad there and a full page ad there. One was for the police service. It was called Project 8000. You might remember it, but they were trying to get up to 8,000 police officers in Greater Manchester Police. I think they had about 6,500 at the time, and they were trying to increase the numbers to 8,000. It was a big recruitment drive. So on one page, it had the police recruitment advert, and on the next page, it had the fire service advert. And I looked at them both, and I thought, you know what, I reckon I could do a good job of that. It'd be a good long career, decent pay, nice money, even though, you should be paid more as a police officer, definitely. But And I looked at them both and I thought, And I thought about it, and I was in two minds as to whether to apply for the fire service or the police service. And in the end, I went for the police service. Don't ask me why. I don't know, but I was drawn to it. So I applied. It took about 6 months or so to get through the application process. I think there was about 8 stages you have to get through, different like interview, assessment, medicals, and what else? Phone interviews. Oh, there was all kinds of stuff. But there was about 8 things, and it took about 6 months, and then I got offered a position. And I joined in December of 2003. God, it's so bright, man. I joined in December of 2003. And I stayed as a police officer, police constable. I didn't go up the ranks or anything. I didn't have any desire to go up the ranks. For 13 years. Yeah, 13 years. Quite a long time, really. And I did a lot of stuff over that time. I'm proud of, very, very proud of everything that I did as a police officer. All the people that I helped, all the incidents that I dealt with, the lives that I affected, whether it be just myself and the team surrounding me. I spent I can't remember exactly, but 1 to 2 years as a response officer, and that is what you would consider as a police officer's job, responding to emergency and non-emergency calls in the panda cars, in the vans, going to jobs, dealing with an incident 24/7, night shift, day shift, whatever. What you would consider to be a police officer. I did that for, I think it was almost 2 years. And then I joined what was called the neighborhood team. And that was you still did a lot of the response functions. You were still dealing with 999 calls and stuff, but you were more locally focused. So you had a community that you had some level of responsibility for, and you would deal with schools, neighborhood stuff like neighbor disputes and things like that. Any local level problem solving that required a police officer or a police team, you would be responsible for that. I did that for about 6 years, and I worked in Denton and in Droylsden in Greater Manchester. And then, wow, it's gone dark now. This is mental. And then I applied for a new role called partnership team. And I did the partnership team until I left. So probably around 5 to 6 years. And the partnership team was a lot about dealing with partner agencies to problem solve. So the council, housing, all that kind of stuff. So you're problem solving stuff to make the community safer, community safety stuff. A lot around hate crime, raising awareness for hate crime. And also licensing was a big part of the job. When I first went into that role, I had a small part in licensing. I just filled in now and again. But by the time I finished, I was the last person standing in that whole team. There was 5 of us. I was the last person in the team, and I was the licensing officer by the time I'd finished. So dealing with incidents or the aftermath of incidents in pubs and licensed premises, and dealing with license applications when things go wrong in pubs and clubs, and taking them to review, potentially closing them down, that kind of stuff. So that is basically my career as a police officer, my 13 years. So before we carry on, I'll just see where the chat's up to. Tom says, what can Greater Manchester Police, Tom, GMP. It's the sound of the police. I've just seen that. Whoop, whoop. Dave's got a good question there. Does that uniform make you boil on a summer day? Absolutely, yes. Yeah. On a hot day, you've got your shirt and your body armor. Your body armor is also weighed down with lots of different gadgets and gizmos and, CS spray and handcuffs and all that. And then you've got a belt on, and then you might have a high-vis jacket, and then you've got a hat on. When it's summer, and you're at a public event or in the public, you've got to have your hat on and everything. So, yeah, definitely. Leanne says, when I joined, they were just making up the numbers, but it was hard to get in. They needed women to deal with sexual offences. Female shoplifters, we got equality and same pay in 75. Okay. So that happened whilst you were in. Wow. Hi, Damien. Welcome. Hi, Nick and Andrea. Nick was a police officer. I think Nick was in for a year, but had enough fairly quickly. Which I don't blame him at all. Don't blame him. Question: I've been arrested once in my lifetime in Leicester Square, London, for dancing. I was only 14. They called my mum from Holborn Police Station. What's the most unusual arrest? Oh, wow. Oh, God. Unusual. I might have to think on that one. I don't think there was. There's nothing that springs to mind. And even when I was thinking about today's live show and I was making a few notes, I don't really recall a mega unusual arrest. I'll have a think about that during the show. I have got some examples of arrests that I made that I'm going to talk about in a bit, and some of those were maybe a little bit unusual, but yeah. So we might touch back on that in a bit. Soul Steps. Aaron's listening while doing some packing. Welcome. Oh, Joseph says, hi, I'm from Turkey. Welcome from Turkey. Wow. Chris, be careful you don't reveal too much and break the Official Secrets Act. Yeah, I won't be. I already said right at the start, Andy, that I will not. I will be very careful about what I talk about, because cops do a very, very good job. So I do not wish to bring the police into disrepute. I would not do that. Never. Chop Chop, how big is your truncheon? It's bloody massive, Chop Chop. Massive. It's like that. It was an extendable baton, actually. We didn't have the rigid handle ones when I joined. It was an extendable, so it folded down, you flicked it, and it came out at the end. Very big. Have you seen the police audits? I'm not sure what you mean there, Bird Breeding UK. Audits, the police audits, what do you mean? Can you clarify? Lana says, question, what was the hardest part of the job? I think taking it, no matter how much you say to yourself, you're not going to take the job home with you, and you're going to clear your mind, and you don't want the stress of having to constantly think about what you've been dealing with in the day as a police officer. To actually switch off is very, very difficult. You almost have to desensitize a little bit, and that's really difficult, because when you desensitize from the things that you deal with at work, and it's a self-preservation thing, when you desensitize from that, it can have a knock-on effect you desensitize a little bit in your life in general. You can't help it because you go into a self-preservation mode. And I think that's pretty difficult to deal with, because you could have dealt with some horrific things during the day and you've got to go home, sit down, have tea with your family, and then get up the next day and start all over again. That's really difficult. I'd probably say that. But there could be a number of answers to that question. Do you miss it and even want to go back? No. I wouldn't go back. Definitely not. I wouldn't. Don't get me wrong, I was earning more money then than what I am now, but money's not everything. It doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter to me. Peace of mind and not having that level of stress, because it was extremely stressful. By the time I finished, it was extremely stressful, and I think everybody should have a very sort of high level of respect for our police officers. There are some that let the force down, but that's true in any walk of life. People who work in a supermarket, there'll be some people in the supermarket who will let their colleagues down and not do the job right. You know, people in every single job, there are bad eggs, and you can't get away from that. But the massive majority of cops are there to do a great job, and everybody should have respect for the job that they do. Very frustrating the way that the media portray our police force. Nick had an extendable as well. Flick it out. Get back. Get back. That's what you used to do in training anyway. I never used it, by the way, on a person. I never had to use it on a person, the baton. The only time I ever used that baton was to smash a window, or, you know, to get into a property if somebody needed help or something like that. Leanne said I had to arrest an officer in the Royal Navy for flashing from his lounge to a woman for over a year. In his defense, he got away with it and thought she liked it. Worst part for me was telling his wife. Wow, that's an unusual arrest. Now, that's what Solstats was talking about. Something might come to me about arrests, but at the moment, I can't think of anything. Was there something you didn't get to do in the police but would have liked to? Tactical pursuit or car chases? Car chases never appealed to me. Being a traffic officer never appealed to me. So dangerous. Never really appealed to me, that. I know a lot of cops join because they want to be in the cars and, you know, drive around and follow at speed tactical situations and that. No, that never really appealed to me. Is there something that I would have liked to have done? A lot of people want to be in firearms, but again, that doesn't appeal to me either. I did apply for the terrorist unit once. I got through to interview. I never got the job though. I think actually there was one position that I really did quite fancy from the very, very start, and that was to be up in the eye in the sky, to be one of the helicopter crew. I would have liked that. Probably would have made me sick as a dog, but I would have liked to have done that, to have been that would have been a good role. It did come up a couple of times. Did you? Yeah, I did. Yeah, Tam, I did. I got injured a couple of times. I'll talk to you about that in a bit. I've got a couple of situations to chat about. Oh, I get you. Yeah. Just before I joined the cops in 2003, there was this big there was this big thing that blew up. Not literally, but it was called the Secret Policeman. Do you remember it? Just before, about 6 months, I think, before I joined, there was this secret policeman thing where some undercover reporters, I think, had got through the process and were filming stuff in the training environment. I think that was what it was. But that caused a lot of changes within the police. A lot of changes. When the alarm goes off before, it's a good question, Dave. Before duty, what was your thoughts? Oh God, here we go again. Oh, I can't wait. It was. I don't think I was ever of the kind that I can't. I don't think I was ever. I love my job because it was such a stressful job. There were some days when I was like happy to go in and do my job, but there was a lot of times when it became really hard. It did become hard, and when that starts happening, then you have to question what you're doing. And I'm not saying we all have to. I don't believe in this. We all have to love our jobs. We go in, we do a job to the best of our ability, and then we come home again. Yeah, I don't believe that we all have to have the mindset of I love my job and I can't wait to get in. It's a job at the end of the day, but I always tried my best to do my duty for the public when I was in work. And the fact that whether you wanted to be in there or not, once you're in there, you do your best. And Colin said, my brother was arrested for wearing a traffic cone on his head. Oh dear, crikey. That's harsh. The problem is it is an offence because you're moving. It's an offence. I can't remember the exact wording, but it's an offence to tamper with road signage, road safety signage and stuff like that, which a cone would probably be classed as that. It is an offence to tamper with it because it's a safety thing, but that might be a little bit harsh. Because I guess, depending on the situation, if somebody moves a cone out of the street, a car could crash into a hole. I don't know. But it depends on the situation, but it is funny. I guess it's a little bit funny. Leanne says, Nick, Chris, I think the job is so different now and probably harder. Everyone is on your back to do the correct thing. Yeah. When I left, it was just coming into a bit like what Chris was saying, Chris Tyler there. When I left, we were starting to see more of the videos, people wearing GoPros and filming you, especially when you were like on a scene, like stood on a scene or guarding something, or or trying to deal with somebody in the public. They would start getting their phones out and filming it. That was just the start of it. So we were warned about stuff like that, the rights and wrongs and what people could and couldn't do. Andy said, I don't think I could ever be a police officer. I'd just be too worried for my safety, although I could probably train to be in the firearms. I wouldn't mind being a sniper. It's probably not as good as what it sounds like. Oh, Leanne says, my husband was a PC in the plane. Bloke was threatening to commit suicide. They tracked his car from the air, had a hose pipe in the window. Wow. Rescued him, and then he can. You know what? That is so typical. You end up helping somebody and then they complain about you. That happens a lot. Husty's not had good experiences. I can't ever trust the police. My experience has not been positive, I'm afraid. I'm not blaming all, but they don't help themselves. It's a small minority, Husty. I can guarantee you of that. If you've had a bad experience, I'm sorry about that. There are, unfortunately, the same in every walk of life. There are bad eggs. I know we chatted before, Chris, but my dad did 30 years with GMP in the A division. That's the city centre, isn't it? Or the old city centre. I don't know if it is the A division anymore. The last couple of years at the courts, I have photos of him at Newton Street, and wow, yeah. Seem to remember you telling me about that, Ian. 30 years, eh? That's a full career. They moved the goalpost when I was in. It used to be 30 years, and then they moved the goalpost to 35 years. Joanne says, I've spoken to the police as a witness for an assault on a bus driver. Irony, wearing GoPros, exactly. Yeah, I know, yeah. Very good. Hi, Kathy. Although he died of cancer, technically he was still in service. He had a full police funeral. Church was full of officers, heartwarming. Wow. Such a shame that you get 30 years service and then you don't really get to make the most of your retirement. Sorry to hear that, Ian, anyway. I think it has affected me. In fact, I know it has. I think doing 13 years as a police officer would affect anybody's outlook. You can't help it. You've spent so many years dealing with in a lot of cases, the tougher side of society, not always, or dealing with people in a real moment of need or help, or, you know, it can be a life-changing moment that you get called to. So, yeah, it's definitely changed my outlook on life. I'm not sure if it's for the better or not, to be honest with you. It's affected me, my mental state of mind. I'm convinced of that. It's affected me personally, having dealt with all the things that I've dealt with, seen all the things that I've seen over the years. Definitely affected me. 100%. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, Nick. A lot of arrests are totally avoidable if people would walk away. Yeah. It's I always used to give people as many opportunities as I possibly could. Making an arrest was the last resort as far as I was concerned, because when you make an arrest, you take somebody's liberty away from them. You are restricting their rights. You're taking their liberty away. You could also affect the rest of their life and their family. So if you're going to make that arrest, you better make sure it's the right thing to do and you do it in the right fashion. Because no matter what you think about people, even those that have done something wrong, they still deserve respect when you're dealing with them. And I always maintain that. Even, I dealt with some horrible offences, some really nasty people, as you would do as a police officer. But I maintain that I would always still deal with them with the respect as a person that they deserved. Well, so many people had chances to walk away, numerous chances, and they don't. Drunk people is very difficult. Drunks are very, very difficult to deal with. Dixon Sider says, how do you deal with seeing suicide and murder victims? I imagine you can't. It stays there. Yeah. There are certain incidents that I've dealt with that, you just don't forget. Simple as that. The horrendous things that you see, the jobs that you attend, people that have passed away, a little warning for anybody in the chat who might be sensitive to anything like that. We might touch on it, but I'll try not to go into too much detail. But yeah, you see some horrible stuff. Maximus has popped in. Yeah, it was like I was saying before. There's always a percentage of every society that will not treat people well, or there's some people that work in every walk of life. I could name, you could say fire service, you could say ambulance service, you could say shop workers, council workers. There's a tiny percentage in all of those that will be bad eggs, and that is exactly the same for the police, unfortunately. Oh, Andy, do you get called up for jury service? I've not been called up for that as of yet. Oh, Jenny, I completed 10 years in the force, joined when I was 20. Found that my mental state changed drastically. I have great hate of confrontation and avoid it. I understand, Jenny Cliff Whatnots. What an interesting name, sorry. Yeah, I understand that. It changed me. I know it did. I know it changed me. I can believe it. Well, 10 years is a hefty chunk. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. I was 25 when I joined. I did 13 years, so I left when I was 38. And yeah. The thing, what I always, when I was out and about, it doesn't matter what role I was in, other than the last role of partnership and licensing, because I didn't really, I wasn't a slave to the radio in that role at all. I didn't even have my radio on during that time. But whilst a response and a neighbourhood officer, I would always volunteer to do the death messages. So if you have to, when you get a call that somebody's passed away, and communications will ask for an officer to go and inform the family of what's happened and maybe get some details or something, to help the situation or the investigation or whatever, I would always put my hand up and shout up for those jobs, because I always felt that I could not empathize. Yeah, maybe empathize, but I always felt that I could deliver that in the best possible way under the circumstances. I would attend hat on when they open the door, hat off, and I would go in and deliver what is probably the worst piece of information or the worst piece of news that they might ever hear in their entire life. And you've got to do that in such a sensitive way. It is so difficult. But there was, I always felt that I could do that as well as anybody could do it. Because of my demeanor and the way that I was and the way that I treated people and that. So I always put my hand up for those. And communications, the officers in communications, they start to get to know who will like certain jobs, and they will just contact you on your radio directly without shouting up over the air. And they'd contact me and say, how do you feel about doing this death message? And of course I would always do it, because I always felt that I could deliver that. Someone's got to do it, and I would rather somebody attend who was good at communicating and was able to empathize and spend time with those people. Leanne, I hated dealing with sudden deaths. They were called a G28. No, they didn't call that. They weren't called that in GMP. Right, I get you, yeah. I didn't particularly enjoy dealing with the actual death at all, Leanne. Although, again, a bit like delivering a death message, I did feel that I was able to deal with people in a nice, in a decent way when there's tragedy. Did you get offered any support counselling to help deal with horrible cases? When I first started, I would say I never really got that offer of any, but I think times changed. Probably around sort of 2010 onwards, there was a lot more consideration put into welfare, and definitely, if you recall the horrific incident in 2012 where police officers Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone were sadly killed while on duty in Greater Manchester. If you remember that was so horrendous for everybody involved in it. That sparked masses of welfare issues for officers who had been a part of that or knew the officers. So I think it's much better now than what it was, definitely. Nick says, one of my first calls was to attend a house and break in to find a dead woman. Not easy at all. And considering that's one of your first calls as well, that is very difficult. I remember being told that no one ever calls the police when life is good. And it's true. Many people associate police with bad things. Definitely, yeah. You know what's one of, you know, this is a small thing. This is a small thing, but having dealt with a lot of community stuff over my years in the police, I was like 5-6 years as a community officer. And then also I did a lot of community work whilst I was a partnership officer as well. But during that time, the number of times, and you might have done it yourself to your kids, and I don't blame you for it, but it's a little bit frustrating when you're a police officer, is number of times you hear in the background, you know, a parent tells a child, you behave, or that police officer over there is going to come and lock you up and take you away. You know, when it kind of puts us in a negative light from the off, because kids see us in a negative light from a very young age because of those kind of attitudes. I get it. You know, you want your kid to behave, and there's a cop across the street, or there's a cop in your school. That cop's going to arrest you and take you away. Whenever that happened, it's always frustrating. Most cops do a good job. I've come across many officers that don't do a good job. It will happen, unfortunately. It will happen. Have you ever... I'll keep using this analogy because it's just a case of every walk of life. People don't do the job as good a job as what they can do. Have you ever received bad customer service from somebody in a shop or at the airport or whatever, in any walk of life? If the answer is yes, which it will be, then you're going to get the same in every walk of life. You know, you might have gone to hospital and reception staff weren't very nice to you, or a nurse was not very nice to you, didn't treat you as well as what you might have liked. Well, that will happen because not every single person is as diligent and as caring as everyone else. Sometimes you get unlucky, you get dealt with by somebody who's not. And wow, the light in here is crazy. I'm wondering if opening this might help. No, that's better. But yeah, there are bad eggs. I've seen it as well. I've seen bad eggs in the cops. Yeah, I'll tell you about a situation. I'll briefly tell you because I'm not going to go into detail. But did you win any awards? Oh, it's funny you should say that, Lana. I do have some here. I'll show you in a second. What else did I want to talk about before we get on? I'll show you some awards. Let's just do it while Lana is. I'm very proud of everything that I did whilst I was a cop. I'm proud that I stuck to my guns on numerous occasions when some might not. And I'm proud that I did my best for people, and I achieved a lot. I think I achieved a lot in my time. So here's a couple of awards that I received. This one, it says PC Christopher Hayden 2012 Beat Neighborhood Beat Manager. Don't know why it's got 2 beats in it. Many thanks for your hard work and dedication. And this came from the local councillors of my beat in Droylsden. And when an award comes from outside of the police family, it means a lot to you, because that means that you've genuinely helped and affected in a positive way the community that you work for. So I was really happy that came in. And this one, this one actually, this is Bell's award. I picked that up, but it's Bell's. Annabelle is, or was, a PCSO. Annabelle joined the police in 2009, and she was actually my PCSO. I was her beat manager in Droylsden, and she got this award. Actually, I might as well tell you about it while I'm here. But Belle, you remember I was talking about the Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone tragic loss of life, and that was all connected to Dale Cregan, and you remember all the stuff that went on with Dale Cregan. And Annabelle and a colleague were first at the scene as PCSOs, not police officers, as PCSOs who aren't supposed to be confrontational, but they didn't have really much choice. They were literally about 100 yards away from the scene in Droylsden, when you might have seen it on recent press. There's been a couple of programs on TV about it. When there was shots fired into a pub in Droylsden, and this pretty much kicked off the whole Cregan stuff that went off in 2012. Shots were fired into a pub, and Annabelle and a colleague of hers were first on the scene, and they dealt with victims of shootings and people and witnesses, and whilst cops actually turned up. And she got this award. She got a bravery award, something I never received, but very, very well deserved. They went in not knowing what the hell they were going to go into as a PCSO, and she got this with a colleague, the Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone Award for Bravery, PCSO Annabelle Biddle. So well done, big up to Belle for that, because that took some doing. You know, I can't even think about, what was going through their mind at that time. That was actually the winning thing. But other awards that I received, I've got a whole raft here. Look at all these. I've got a Chief Superintendent's Commendation. What was this for? In recognition for your dedication to the role you have within the partnership team, your motivation, inspiration, and creativity reaches much further than your daily duties. There you go. Commendation from the Chief Super. What's this one? This is a Pride of... Oh, took me frigging nose off. Pride of Droylsden Award in 2012. Community Safety. I was only nominated, so I didn't win that one. But at least I got nominated. This one is a 2010 Tameside Divisional Commanders Award for Partnership Working. There you go. Don't ask me I can't remember what I got it for, actually. What's this one? Droylsden District Assembly. Presented to PC Chris Hayden in recognition of his significant contribution towards community policing in Droylsden. 2012. What else have we got? I was only a runner-up there. The Ian Rowley Memorial Award for Partnership Working. Runner-up. What else? Another one. Divisional Commanders Award for Problem Solving, West Neighbourhood Policing. 2011. So you can see between 2010 and 2013, I was probably at the height of my abilities as a police officer. I got a good work minute there for creativity and partnership team. What's this one? This one, Excellence Award for Innovation. Only runner-up though. Never mind. I've done that one. So there you go. There's some of my awards. But I've also kept loads of letters of thanks and things that people would send me. You know, it's mad, really. Very good question. You know what, though? No, I never did it. Never did it. Can you imagine if you had a bump when doing that? James says, been a special since 2012 when I was 19. Used to want to do it full-time as a career, not anymore. From what I see, not many people enjoy the job these days. Well, hats off to you, James, for doing it as a special. That takes some doing to do it on a voluntary basis. But yeah, well done, mate. Have you still got your whistle? I never had one, Chris. Never had a whistle. How much training did you have before your first real instance or call? The training lasts for about 5 months, Dave. So it's different now. When I joined, you went to what was called Bruges near Manchester, and it was like a training centre, and you stayed over there Monday to Friday. It was a residential training centre, and you did all your training for the best part of 5 months. So it took quite a while. This is actually my training pocket notebook. So I kept that. It has got a couple of days of when I actually went out, when I finished training, and then I had to start a new book. But that's my first day. My first day in training, my pocket notebook, and it says Thursday, the 11th of December, 2003. 8:30 a.m. was a definition test. 10 a.m. was a physical in the gym. 11:15 pocket notebook rules. 12:20 was refs in the canteen. For those who don't know, refs is short for refreshments, which means your lunch or your break. 12:45 drill. So marching. I don't think they do drill anymore. So yeah, that's my pocket notebook. And then if we fast forward, I've marked it out. My very first day on patrol out on division. So when I was, I got stationed at Ashton-under-Lyne initially. So my very first duty as a police officer was a 9 p.m. till 7 a.m. night shift. So I put on my pocket notebook, 9 p.m. on duty at Ashton-under-Lyne Police Station, briefing in company with my tutor constable. I won't say the name. And my first proper job, we stopped a car at 11 p.m. on mobile patrol on Stockport Road, Denton, stopped a vehicle, and then I put the vehicle details. Nothing came of it. We let her go. I'm just looking to see. At 11:30 p.m., I attended a domestic incident. And then at midnight, I attended a damage to a motor vehicle. And it goes on. Hey. Tori said, had a recent incident in my job, teenage child assault parent. My advice to parent, call police as it's an assault, police response. It's a social services issue. Yeah. I can understand that happening, but at the end of the day, if it's an assault, probably should have, dealt with it as an assault. Such a hard job. A lot of respect for those that stick with it. Yeah, absolutely, Nick. 100%. Oh, we're going back to the parents-child thing. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, guys. I agree. The problem is, Alex, is that the job as a police officer is in the public eye, isn't it? And that is whenever there's something bad happens or something goes wrong, it's there in the media. Horrible creature. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well done, Belle. Absolute respect for her to go in there. You made your mark. I feel like I did, Nick. I feel like I did make a difference. Absolutely, yeah. I'll tell you a few stories in a minute. My granddad was a police officer in Bingley and later became a private detective. Oh, I've seen some of his old notebooks with photos of local wanted suspects. Wow. That's interesting, isn't it? Paperwork. Yeah. It's horrendous. The amount of paperwork cops have to do is ridiculous. You can spend half your night dealing with paperwork, even more than half your night. If you made an arrest, say like on that night shift that I just told you about, if I'd have made an arrest at 9 o'clock at night, depending on the circumstances of it, that could move my shift over, because I might have to take that person in, book them into custody, write a load of statements, interview them as well. What else would I have to do? Pull a file together, ring CPS. That could be my entire shift just on one arrest in the night. Yes, I did train at Sedgley Park. Yeah, Sedgley Park and Bruges in Warrington. It was called Bruges. It's like a residential. It's like a bloody holiday camp, residential place. Did you ever deal with something similar to the Manchester Arena bombing? I didn't attend. I wasn't in attendance at that because I was in a different role. But like when all the Krieg and stuff was going off, I was part of my job was licensing at the time, so myself and other colleagues were dealing with like the licensing aspects. So police wanted to get into the community in Droylsden to get information and to support the community. So we were dealing with a lot of stuff in the Droylsden area to to try and get information and provide reassurance. So we were doing a lot. You do things not directly involved in incidents, but you on the periphery. It's kind of like a team effort. Okay, here's a story. So I remember. Oh, this isn't going to be an hour, is it? It's already 1 hour 10. I remember in my early days as a cop, I was with a colleague of mine, and we were on patrol. I think it was in the Denton area. And I never forget this. It's just a funny little, I think it's funny, but we were on patrol in the Denton area, nice sunny day, and we stopped. We took a little bit of a break and we stopped, and we got an ice cream from the ice cream man, right? So two coppers, full uniform, panda car. We pulled up and we got an ice cream from the ice cream man. So this is like hot fuzz. And no sooner as we got this ice cream, I'm licking me 99 or whatever it is. And it was definitely a 99, by the way. A emergency call comes in. A grade 1, as they call it. So that when it's a grade 1, it means that you need to go as fast as safely possible. Blues and twos, sirens, blues, the lot. Get there. Somebody needs help. Could be a burglary in process or a robbery or something like that. So a call comes in, and I've got this ice cream. And luckily, I wasn't driving, but my colleague was driving. And you think I'm going to waste that ice cream? Not a chance. He's going down blues and twos, flying through Denton and wherever it was we were going, I don't remember. And I'm there trying to eat a 99. And in the end, you can imagine what happened. I got at this job and I had frigging ice cream all down my top, all down my uniform. So I had to give it a bit of the old wipe before we went in. But you can imagine like hot fuzz like this going round the corners, like trying to eat a bloody 99. Well, that was funny. What else? What other stories can I come up with? I remember once as well. This comes into that arrest category that Soul Steps was asking about. I was on a plain clothes job. So sometimes you put plain clothes on to do a little operation. And we were in plain clothes, and a call come in that an elderly gent had just been stabbed in his back. Now, serious assault. It's like be a Section 18 assault, I think, if it's not attempt murder. Could be attempt murder, but I guess it depends on the guy's intention. But at the very least, a Section 18 assault, which is one level down from attempt murder. So this call comes in. We're all plain clothes, and we scramble into the area to try and track down this offender. And we see this guy on a bike, and it's him. It matches the description. He's making off down the street, going down all the alleyways. So I jump out of the car and give chase, even though he's on his bike. So I run down this alleyway. Can you believe it? Me running. Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe. I get down halfway up the alleyway, and this guy turns back. He's obviously a dead end. He's gone down a dead end. So he dumps his bike and he starts running at me. And he's got a frigging knife in his hand, right? And there was only one thing I could do. He runs right at me, and I absolutely legged him up. I swiped his leg like Karate Kid. Swiped his leg from under him. He went flying. I went flying. I'm lucky that knife didn't end up somewhere in me. It just went on the floor. I was lucky. But the only thing I could do, other than run the other way, I swiped his leg and got him on the floor. And that's one of the occasions when I actually received an injury, because by doing that, I ripped all my jeans that I had on the time, because I was plain clothes, remember? I ripped all my jeans, and I actually injured my knee, which actually was a blessing in disguise, because I arrested him. I think I arrested him for attempt murder, because you arrest for the highest level, and then if it has to come down, it can come down. So arrested him, and because I was injured, I was almost like a victim in that as well. So I didn't have to deal with any of the other stuff. So I just locked him up, put my statement in, and someone else dealt with it because I'd been injured. So I was like a victim. It would be unethical for me to carry on and deal with that when I was the one that was injured. So I think I got away with not doing much more work on that job. Although I think he did get charged with a serious assault on the old fella. So it was a good result, but yeah, it was a good arrest that, and but scary at the same time. Scary. You have nightmares after doing something like that because you think, what if the knife had come first? Wasted ice cream. Plonker, yeah, no. Oh, Susan, thank you. Susan sent a super sticker, but I can't quite see it because I'm on StreamYard, but I'll have a look at it because you've taken the time to do that. Let me have a look at the super sticker. I appreciate it. There it is. Can we see it? Susan sent that one there, that super sticker. That's very kind of you. Thank you. So yeah, that was a good arrest. You know, there wasn't. I don't remember much that topped that really. I mean, I obviously arrested a number of people over my career, but I don't remember much that topped that. Actually, bringing somebody down who deserved it and who had hurt somebody badly. I don't remember much that was better than that. Yes, I did, Tori. I put a claim in and I made sure them jeans were Calvin Klein's. They were. Honest, they were. I think I got about 30 quid back for my jeans. Kathy, yeah, nice one. See you in a bit, Tam and Bell. Nice one. What else can I show you? Oh, these. I managed to keep my epaulets. Now, you might recall the title of this stream is 1015, and 1015 haunts me wherever I go, and it's like a subliminal messages that come through to me. 1015 is, I mean, this was my collar number 11015, right? That was my collar number. But when you're on the radio, it's much easier to take off that first one, and when you shout up your number, I was 1015. That's what I became, 1015. It was much easier than saying 11015. 11015 comms. No, it's 1015. So that was what I became. That was my number. And that number haunts me everywhere. It's like when we book a flight on holiday. Oh, Belle, what time's the flight going? It's 10:15. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? Everywhere I go, 10:15 is wherever I look. It's like, oh, should we go to bed? What time is it? 10:15. I am haunted by that number. What else have I got to show you? Everybody got one of these, so this is nothing special, like as in I only got one, but everyone got a little one of these medals, every officer at the time, because it was for the Queen's Jubilee in 2012, the Queen's Jubilee medal. So I've still got mine. I wonder how much this is worth on eBay. What do you reckon? Someone have a look, see if it's worth anything on eBay. Look, that's nice, isn't it? But we all got one. Whoever was serving police officer at the time got one. I'll go through some newspaper snippets in a bit of times when I was famous in the paper. Andy, I would say in theory, yes. I mean, when I joined the police, I lost weight and I went to the gym because in my head, I thought you had to be fit to be a police officer. But your fitness is tested on a regular basis. you do fitness tests and that, but it's not as stringent. So if you fail the test, they just give you an action plan. Oh, go and do this X, Y, Z, and then come back. But there are a lot of unfit officers because at the end of the day, you eat so many donuts, right? And kebabs during your night shift. You haven't. I know, she's only joking. Chris, what's your thoughts on how to engage kids with police these days to win back a respect that seems to have been lost? I did so much, and it's one of the things I've got written down. I did so much in my time as a police officer to work with young people. Predominantly whilst I was up in Droylsden, I came up with an idea to try and get kids off the street and give them something to do. We came up with an idea to have a monthly disco, like a club night. We called it Club Delta. And it was really, really brilliant. We had 200 to 250 young people from the Droylsden area coming into this disco. We'd have music playing, like proper full-on sort of club night, tuck shop and everything, all run by police, all run by myself and my team. And it was brilliant. And we took a lot of kids off the street, but also just as important as that is we were engaging with young people. People were getting to know me as their local officer and the PCSOs like Bell and some other officers. And that served a number of great things, really, because when you're out and about then doing your daily routine as a police officer in the area, you'd see the same kids and they'd wave at you and they'd say hello and suddenly they become approachable again. And it was really great. I think I've got some cuttings. And from that disco that we run, we actually built and started up a brand new youth club in the area. It was called Prime Youth Club. I'm not sure if it's still going or not, but we came up with this multi-agency youth club. We got a load of funding from the National Lottery and all sorts. And it was a really fantastic initiative. And I think it's stuff like that is probably what answers your question, to get closer to the community and become approachable. Here's some of this stuff that relates to that. There you go. Disco fever comes to a club near you. This was a newspaper article, and it says Droylsden cops are hoping to keep kids off the streets this summer after starting a new partnership with a local radio station. The popular Club Delta Youth Disco, run by neighbourhood police officer PC Chris Hayden, will see a collaboration. This was a one-off collaboration, by the way, just for 1 month. We collaborated with Unity Radio. Yeah, it's just a little bit there. What else have I got? I've got some other Club Delta stuff here as well. There you go. What about this one? This is one that I kept. Club has more than the X Factor. A club night is offering an alternative for local youngsters instead of the X Factor. I mean, that's a bit naff, isn't it? Tickets for the Scare Factor. Yeah, this was our Halloween party, actually. Youths age 11 to 16 are invited to attend from 7:30 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. as part of Club Delta, which regularly sees over 100 youngsters attend during their club nights. So that was that one. Have I got any other things about Club Delta? Not sure. We raised quite a bit of money. We did some charity nights as well when we did that. We raised quite a bit of money for children in need as well. I think in the end we raised like £1,000 or something for children in need by doing those. But it was completely self-funded. We had it so that there was an entrance fee. I think it was like £1 or £1.50 to get in, We had a tuck shop, and we had sponsorship from the local councillors and stuff. And it funded itself. It even funded overtime for officers to come and help police the event. So it was good. No, I didn't volunteer for that, Joanne. I didn't get involved in that. I didn't really fancy it. Details about Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal. £32. Nick did the same as me. He trained a lot to get in. I was the fittest I ever was. I was the same. I was 11 stone. I've been to the gym for months, and I was in good shape. Kathy says £20 for long service medal, and oh bloody hell, I wouldn't sell it anyway. I wouldn't sell it. £56 there, Chris Tyler said. Does seem cheap, doesn't it, Kathy? Prime Youth Club last posted on Facebook in April, May. So, yeah, maybe they stopped, due to pandemic. But that was us who started that. That was my brainchild, and I brought together a team of key people in the community who could make it happen. And there were some really great people who got involved in that and really took it off the police, because it shouldn't really be down to the police to run something like that, because you were getting into the realms of other agencies. So we really work closely with youth groups and the youth service, the council youth service, and volunteers in the community who really took a lead on it. And it was really great. We did residentials with the kids, and we did loads of team building stuff. It was good. Dave says, at 10 years, posties get a pen. At 20 years, a pin badge. And at 30 years, a meal. Oh, wow. Wow. What one are you at, Dave? My dad was a security guard and he used to work with the police. Oh, wow. That's good. What kind of stuff did he do, Joanne? What else? What other stories have I got to talk about? Oh, there was one story I wanted to tell you about, and it might sound like nothing to you, but it meant a lot to me and the person involved. And some police officers would write this off and say, not getting involved in that. That's not our job. But not me, because that's not the kind of person I am. Let me find the letter that was written to me afterwards. See, I kept all this stuff. All me thanks, and yeah, look at that. The cream of the cops. Tameside reporter. There you go. And I highlighted. Look at the bit that I highlighted. I thought I highlighted it because I thought it was funny at the time. And it says, you might not be able to read it. It says, the tenacious police officer. Tenacious, I've been called. But yeah, I kept that one. Let me just find this letter. There it is. Okay, let me tell you about what it was all about. Oh, Nick's popping out. No worries, Nick. Thanks for joining us. Message me later. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Oh, Dave's nearly at 7 years. Right, here's the situation, right? And a lot of cops, and some did in this case, turned their back on this incident, but I wasn't going to. And this kind of sums me up as a police officer. This is kind of what I was like. So, an elderly lady, I think I recall her being 97 years old. 97, right? Now, if she doesn't deserve a bit of respect and help when she needs it, no matter what it is, then I don't know who does, right, 97 years old. She rings up the local police station, the one that I was at. She rings up and she asks for help. She gets put through to the local station rather than like 999 or 101 or whatever it is. She rings up the local police station and she says that she'd just come out of hospital, quite a serious operation. She's been sent home and her fire alarm in her home has been going off for, I think it was 2 days, non-stop, like on and off, a fire alarm. Now, that'd be enough to drive anyone by round the bend, but this lady's just come out of hospital and she's 97 years old. She can't turn her fire alarm off. She's got no one to turn to. And she gets through to the local police station. And a couple of the cops there were a little bit dismissive of whether we could do anything about it. Some people would say that's not a police issue, right? Some people would say that. But I remember, because I think they had it on loudspeaker, I remember listening to the lady, and after a couple of officers had turned, said, "Oh, it's not a police matter," I just said, "Look, I'll go and see if she's all right, and I'll see if I can fix the problem." Right now, it turns out that she'd actually done the right thing before that. She'd rung the fire service, right? And here's what I go back to, in that not everyone does their best in every walk of life. You always get some people who can't be bothered no matter what job they do. But this 97-year-old had rung the fire service before she rung us, because it was her fire alarm that was going off. So that makes perfect sense. She rung the local fire station. And you know what they said to her? "We'll come out on Monday." And this is Friday. So the poor lady is expected to have a fire alarm going off all weekend. She's just come out of hospital, serious thing done. And that's the response they gave, the fire service. And so she rung the police because she didn't know what else to do. And I took the job. I said, I'll go see her. So I went down there, and true to life, this lovely old lady, now you wouldn't believe she was 97. You would not believe it, but she was approaching 100 years old, and she was beside herself. She was in bits. She was in tears. She couldn't take it any longer, this noise, and it was horrendous. Can you imagine, for anybody? So I'm not really supposed to do it, but I took a screwdriver and I unscrewed a fire alarm and I turned it off for her. Right now, I'm not really meant to do that, because if something were to happen to her, I could have got in trouble. But I couldn't. My conscience couldn't let me go away and not replace the fire alarm. Because I'm thinking, if I go all weekend now, what if she has a fire? And the fire alarm, I've taken the fire alarm out, even though it wasn't working properly, but I took it out and didn't replace it, and I left her all weekend without a fire alarm. So my conscience, I couldn't leave her like that. So not only did I take the fire alarm out, I drove round to the local fire station. I knocked on the door and I asked them if they had a spare fire alarm that they could. At the time, they were giving them out for free anyway. So they gave me a fire alarm, and they didn't offer to come and fit it. So they gave me one, and I went away, and I went back to the lady's house, and I fitted it for her. I put a new fire alarm in for her because I thought, well, something could happen to her. And she was so unbelievably grateful that such a small thing affected her so badly. And afterwards, she actually wrote a letter. She actually wrote this letter to the chief superintendent of Tameside Police. And she wrote this letter. I'm not going to read all of it because she goes into some detail at the start. But she said, "I want to give praise when praise is due." And this is it's quite hard to read because the writing's very shaky. I feel compelled to express my thanks for the unbelievable kindness and concern and help given to me by a PC stationed at Droylsden. I feel ashamed to say that I do not know his name. I had just been delivered, she put in little commas. I had just been delivered from hospital in my cold, empty house when I heard my fire alarm in the lounge bleeping. She goes on to say that she'd suffered with this for quite a while, and she phoned the fire station and was told to wait until Monday. I then rang the police and the PC came. I will not go into detail, but just to say, in my opinion, he went beyond the line of duty and showed deep concern for my welfare. May I please ask that you or one of your staff let him know how much I appreciate his help. That to me meant the world to me, because where other people had turned their back on this lady, I couldn't do it. Smoke alarm. And just a small thing like that had a massive effect on that lady. And that's what I was talking about before, about the small things that, really matter, and how you make people feel means a lot more than anything else. But that's always stayed with me, that story. Oh, long story short, top of the morning. Yeah, I think it was an old school thing to do. I think some modern cops might not do it. She just wanted help. Whether we were the right or the wrong service to give that, it doesn't matter, because I've solved it for her. Yeah, I meant smoke detector. Sorry, I probably should have clarified that. Postmen sometimes get called in to ask to help on a small task when they got no one. Yeah. And it's things like that I think are so important, that you should never lose sight of. If I tell you what, if an inspector or a ranking person might have heard that phone call, I might have been told not to go, because of the culture of it's not a police job. So I'm glad that I took that away from someone else's decision. No neighbours, Rob. But it was nice of her at that age and that state to write in. Arrest her for wasting police time. Yeah, you issue a ticket now. You don't normally arrest for that anymore. You give them a fixed penalty notice. American police are thugs. I'm sure they're not all thugs. Come on, I'm sure they're not all thugs. Do I have anything else I can share with you guys? What other stories have I got? Oh, here's another story. I've got so many. We could go on forever. I don't want to go past 2 hours. Definitely not. Right, here's a little story. So, remember I said to you earlier that I was always the one to put my hand up on the radio or whatever and volunteer to deliver a death message, because I always felt that I could do it in the best possible way. So this was one of those occasions, right? I volunteered to deliver a death message, and without going into too much detail, basically how can I put it? A serving soldier had finished his tour of duty, wherever it was, and come home, But when they got home, after going through all that as a soldier, they had a car accident and they passed away. They died. And I had to deliver that message to mum and dad. And I went to the job with a PCSO, not Bell, with another PCSO. And I delivered the message. And as you can appreciate, they were absolutely in bits, absolutely distraught, as everyone is when you deliver a death message. But it's what happened next which was truly shocking. So the dad, I said to the parents, right, it might be an idea for you to get some stuff together and you can go and see your son at the hospital or at the morgue or whatever. And dad went upstairs to go and get himself dressed and get ready to go. But, he was in pieces, he was not in a good state. And the next thing I heard was an almighty crash. He fell down the entire, I think he collapsed at the top of the stairs. Shock or was, whatever, but he collapsed and he fell all the way down the stairs. And when he got to the bottom of the stairs, unfortunately, there was a glass of paint, a pane of glass at the front of the door, and his head went straight through the pane of glass. So you can imagine the scene. Try and imagine it. It was horrendous. He was bleeding badly. He was almost unconscious. And I'm getting on the radio and they think I'm a death message, remember? They sent me to deliver a death message. And I'm on the radio saying, I need an ambulance here now. And they're wondering what the hell is going on. So I'm there giving him first aid with help from the PCSO who was with me and trying to calm mum down, keep her calm and keep him talking, and got blood pouring down his head in a really bad way, to be honest with you, really bad way. But we managed to keep him conscious until the ambulance got there. But afterwards, that hits you like a brick afterwards when you dealt with that, because you go into this professional mode of dealing with an incident as you see it, totally unexpected. Never would have dreamt of that. But it was horrible to deal with. Not only now are they dealing with the death of their son, but now they've got this whole other situation going on. Thankfully, he was okay in the end, and he was dealt with at hospital and he got to come home. And I did go and knock on and say hello a week or so later to check in on them and see if they were okay. But that was the worst death message. And they're all bad, don't get me wrong, but this one went pear-shaped, big time. So having to deal with that. And I remember the PCSO afterwards, he said to me, Chris, I've never worked with you properly before, but bloody hell, you were good. And I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I must have gone into some kind of weird automatic, I need to deal with this and help this guy mode, because I don't remember much about it then, other than stopping him from bleeding and all sorts everywhere and keeping him talking. But I remember PCSO said to me afterwards, I don't think I could have done it. You did brilliantly. So it meant a lot to me, that. So another little story for you. Another little story. The issue with American police is they continually violate our First Amendment rights. I can't comment too much on the American police. I don't know enough about it. You can only go off what you see in the media, really. Yeah, it wasn't good. But kind of going back to what I said to you before, I'm glad it was me dealing with it. I'm glad it was me that was able to deal with it and not somebody else. Bloody nightmare, I know it was. I'll never forget that. There's certain jobs that you never forget, and these are the ones really. Some are very light-hearted, and some are really serious. But for some reason, they live long in your memory. You know what I mean? Belle told you about that funny job at last week's show. Now, when I was a community officer in Droylsden, and I was doing some work at a school, I was in the school playground chatting to parents, mingling and showing my face as a police officer. And the kids were playing football on the playground, and I thought I'd be all cool copper. Oh yeah, I'm a copper. I can play football. So the ball bounces its way over to me, and I'm thinking, hey up, I can score from here. I'm going to try and score top bins, right? So the ball bounces its way over, and I absolutely smacked it. Don't ask me why. I don't know. Now, picture the scene. Full uniform, hat, yeah, the world watching me in this playground. All parents, teachers, head teacher was there. So embarrassing. I hit that ball so bloody hard, like you've never hit it before, and it went smack straight in a female parent's face. Smack on. Oh my God. I wanted the world to swallow me up. Oh my, how I didn't end up with a complaint, I don't know, but I couldn't have said sorry enough times. She was okay, but it must have hurt. It must have hurt. It was so embarrassing. So embarrassing. It was one of the worst things ever. It really was. For a little while, Belle actually worked with me because maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, maybe a year. I can't remember now, but she was my PCSO. I was in charge of her for a little while, and she was on my team. And there was one time we went to a job together. Actually, went to quite a few jobs actually together, but there was one time we went to a job, and as we got to the house, I can't remember the reason. As we got to the house, there was a freaking massive dog in that house, and it was barking and it was growling. It was huge. It was a Great Dane, right? And I don't really like Great Danes. They're too bloody big. It was this big, yeah? It was massive. I could see it through the door, and you can hear how big a dog is when it's barking. And I looked through the door and I got Belle, right? And I went, there you go. You go first. And I made her go first, right, through the door, because I thought, I'm not facing that dog. So, but she was a PCSO, so I thought, well, she's the plastic. She can go in first. And she dealt with it very well. The dog was actually fine. It was just a bit big. But yeah, I pushed Bella in first. I was like, you go first. And that is why you should never trust a copper. I know. It was a good header. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You didn't get picked for England. And now she's in charge of me. Yeah, probably. Absolutely, Kathy, yeah. Yes, 100% I hid behind Belle. This grown man, this police officer, hid behind Belle, this bloody big dog. I was going to Dave said he was going to mention about dogs. I've not been bitten by one. But yeah, I kind of let her go first. And PCSO is a cannon fodder, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. What else have I missed out that I wanted to talk to you about? There was one time I got hit by a baton once by my own colleague. Yeah. what happened was me and it's a PCSO as well. What happened was there was a couple of cops. There was a couple of cops in attendance. There was a guy who barricaded himself into a house and in an upstairs bedroom because I think a domestic had gone off and the police had been called. So he barricaded himself into this bedroom. And there was a couple of cops, me and another cop and a PCSO, and we managed to get into this room because he's going to be arrested. He's going to be arrested. There's no doubt. He committed a crime and going to be arrested. He didn't want to be arrested like most people don't want to be. So he barricaded himself in. We managed to get through the door and he's starting to fight with us. He's starting to throw punches, fight and scuffle. And the one officer lost his baton on the floor. He'd actually got his baton out to try and sort of secure him or whatever, or if that's one of a better phrase. He got his baton out because he obviously feared for his safety and whatnot. But he'd knocked the baton out of his hand. And the PCSO who was with us, he picked the baton up to try and use it, to try and help restrain him. Ended up hitting me instead because he'd gone like that, bang, smacked me. Yeah, and then this guy who we were trying to arrest makes a beeline for the upstairs window and attempts to throw himself through the window and out onto the street. But me and the PCSO managed to grab him when he's half dangling out the window and pull him back through the window. Obviously, then we lock him up and he's under arrest, but he's got blood all over his head again, a bit like the other one, really. Bit crazy, obviously sort of maybe on something, but yeah, I got twatted by this baton, and the guy's trying to launch himself out of a window. Just another day as a copper. Pepper spray. What, for dogs? They don't have an effect on dogs, pepper spray. No, they don't really affect pepper spray, and I wouldn't use it really. But it's not a good idea to use pepper spray in a small confined area when you're trying to arrest somebody, because not only does it affect the person, but it affects all of you. So none of you can do your job anyway. So no, don't use pepper spray. Who needs enemies when you've got colleagues? I know. Did you put the boots to him? No. We just arrested him. We made sure he was okay, because at the end of the day, he'd put his head through windows. So, hi Peter, welcome. Hi. Is there anything else I wanted to talk to you about? Any other incidents? Have you guys seen the 60-second security tips that I did as a police officer? Because if you go on YouTube and search 60-second security, I came up with this with a colleague of mine who was in crime reduction, and we did a load of filming to try and help people stay safe. And these were some of the posters we had made. And we put these up in things like doctors' surgeries, community centres and stuff like that. And it was this series called 60-Second Security, and you can see me on there. But if you search that, you'll see, I think we did 17 videos. Some of them got some really good views. And we made leaflets up, all to try and keep people safe. Little cards that they could keep. I've got some photos to share with you from 60-Second Security. My favourite one, if you have to look at one, my favourite one is probably Stranger Danger, because we made this Stranger Danger video, and it features my sergeant at the time, my boss. Her son is in it, a little lad called Stu. Very cute little lad. He's a lot bigger now, but a cute little lad. And we made this video. It was great, and a lot of schools used them for their kids, especially primary schools. So Yeah, watch them. Watch them. There's 17 videos. They only last a couple of minutes. A bit like 60-second tips. I wonder where that idea came from. But I have got a couple of pictures from that series that I can share with you. So here you go. So there's me in action. Chris on his pedal cycle. Look at that. What a hunk of a guy there. What else have we got? Yes, Chris, that's a door. Well done. That's a doorbell. No, it's a door chime. So when the door opens, it's got a magnetic thing on it, and you know if somebody's walked in. Here you go. This is me as a. That's me. Look, looks like me, doesn't it? That's me immortalized in cartoon form. So if you watch the Stranger Danger video, this cartoon features in it, and that is actually meant to be me. What else have I got? There's me. That's me mum in the background. There's Fix It Frida. There. Well, you know, there's only one person there. Fix It Frida there in the background. That's me with some PR shots. That's me robbing the local kids of their presents. That's me at the airport. We did a travel video, travel tips. That was fun that day. There's Fix It Frida in the background as well. These are all like PR sort of images that they used. What else have I got? Now, it's funny actually because the police in Hungary, so Eastern Europe, actually picked up on these 60-second videos, and they wanted to make their own version of 60-second security for their own country, for their own police force. And there was an article from that, and it's from GMP to Budapest in 60 seconds. And you can see their version of me there. I don't know if you can see it. If I go here, there, that's their version of me presenting 60-second tips. I actually think this guy's a lot better looking. What else have I got on here? I've got a few other pictures. Here's me. Here's me at the Etihad Stadium. Yeah, you can see. I've got the advertising board behind me, but I took a quick selfie when I was doing a meeting at the Etihad Stadium. And I've got a couple of Bell here. There's me and Bell at our disco. The Club Delta disco, all dressed up. Me looking like I've been assaulted by the kids, and there's Belle with a normal sort of Friday night outfit on, and there she is again, trying not to smile. How cute was she back then? She's still cute, isn't she? Peter's going to watch later. So this was a small town or city. This is a suburb of Greater Manchester, so it's a very populated area, Rob. This is an area called Tameside, just outside, well, it's in Greater Manchester, but not far away from the city centre. All right. I know. No guns. No, it's only firearms have guns, Rob. Pretty much, yeah. I did have videos on YouTube then, I think. I did have some videos. Babyface, I know. Are you talking about Belle? Yeah, most are unarmed, other than pepper spray or CS gas, as they call it. CS gas or CS spray. You can't use the word gas. CS spray and a baton. That's all you get. Some officers have a taser, and some officers, even fewer, have a gun. What else? Have I got anything else to share with you? I've got all kinds. All this stuff is when people wrote in to say thank you for doing such a nice job. I always kept stuff like this. I've got a whole folder full of it. I've got loads. I just think it's important to keep things like this. Because when you think back to your career as a police officer, it's good to know that you did your best and you did a good job. There's me in the paper there. Police alert after burglaries. So we're having a spate of burglaries, so we put out an appeal. There's me. Can you see me on the right there? Not on the left, obviously. That was us raising some money for children in need. Belle's on there. Can you see her? Just at the bottom. It's not a very good picture. Yeah, little Belle. What else have we got? Oh, here's a good one. This was front page, this one. This was local front page news when we found a cannabis farm. There's lots. We were always finding cannabis farms. You know, it's almost on a weekly basis in the area. But this was weeded out. This was front page news, and it says, hundreds of cannabis plants were seized when police swooped on a Droylsden house yesterday. A team of officers uncovered a large drug factory after raiding the property. Now, this was actually pinned on my notice board in my little office, my little office in the police station. This was on my notice board with lots of other stuff. And look what the bastards did. Look what they did. That is typical of cops. Yeah, you come in and there's something pinned on the board, or they've drawn on something. But look at that. And that's me holding a cannabis plant. Oh, you know, here's a funny story. Somebody rang up to report that they thought somebody was growing cannabis in their house, right? So one of the cops at the station, you know, he thought, you know, I'm going to get a warrant out. Yeah, we'll go and kick the door in and we'll do all this. And yeah, we'll go and find this cannabis farm. We'll go and shut it down, get them arrested. And oh, it's really funny. Now, goes and does all this, kicks the door in. They get to the back of the house, and they are tomato plants. Tomato plants. Now, when you look at tomato plants and cannabis, you can be forgiven for thinking that they might be that one and the same. There is an element of similarity, and they were growing them in their conservatory, all these tomato plants. And I guess you could say it looked like cannabis grow, but it wasn't. It was pretty funny, but it weren't funny for the householder because they had the door kicked in. Hey. Does everyone drink in a wood-panelled basement? What? What does that mean, Rob? Tomatoes are Class C. Oh, God. Oh, this job. This was horrendous, this. Now, you talk about, like, human tragedy. This was animal tragedy. I went to a job on an allotment, right? The allotment owner had rung in and he'd turned up to his allotment, and all his chickens had had their heads chopped off. The scene was horrendous. I turned up there. There was chickens, bodies, heads, blood. It was a massacre. And this was the local news. It hit the local news. Barbaric attack. Sick yobs butcher defenseless birds. A barbaric attack saw 9 chickens beheaded and a defenseless dove strung up has left an allotment group devastated. A total of 21 sheds were raided during one sickening evening where intruders massacred the poultry on a tree stump. It was horrible. It was really horrible. That was that. Here's another thing that I'm responsible for. That's this panda. He's called Constable Cub, and I got some funding. He cost over £2,000 to get made, but I got some local funding, and he used to get used at the local schools and stuff when you're doing talks and fun days and things like that. So he was good. But I think I've covered most things. Anyone got any questions? I mean, I hope that you found it interesting to hear about life as a police officer. I know, I stand by everything that I did in my time in 13 years as an officer. I'm proud of everything that I did. It took its toll on me. And we'll kind of move on to this because before we finish up, I've talked about how I joined. I've talked about stuff that I did while I was in the cops. But what effect did it have on me being a police officer? Well, stress was one thing. Very, very stressful, dealing with situations where you've got to think on your feet, deal with aggressive people, deal with confrontation on a daily basis, deal with different parts of society, shall we put it that way. Very, very stressful. I hold my hand up to anyone who manages to get through a day as a police officer. Very difficult. The hours are very difficult. You're working a lot of the time. If you're a response officer, obviously you're working 24/7, lots of night work. In the end, I didn't do nights that much because I was in a specialist role when I finished. But one of the things that you're always on duty, remember. So if you're out and about, say you get a train, say you're off duty, technically off duty, you get a train into Manchester to go on a night out. If you see anything, if anything happens, if someone gets assaulted, technically you're duty bound to help because you're the serving police officer. You're never really off duty. And that always makes going on a night out difficult because everybody knows you're a cop, right? So if you're out with a group of mates and something kicks off, they all know you're a cop. So you're duty bound to get involved. Very, very difficult. Very difficult indeed. But why did I leave? Why did I leave the cops? Stress. I just about had enough. Hell of a lot of pressure in the role that I was doing. I was a team of 5, but in the end, I was a team of 1. Just me doing everything, licensing and partnership work and stuff. It was impossible to keep on top of, and it got the better of me. And I think all the years of dealing with different incidents and dealing with angry people, and I think it just took its toll on me, and I just didn't have much left mentally to give. And also, right, this is something they don't think about much in the cops, like bosses and supervision, right? When you're in a specialist role, which I was in a specialist role as a licensing officer and a partnership officer, I was technically frontline, but I wasn't frontline anymore. I wasn't a slave to the radio. I didn't deal with 999 calls or anything like that by the time I finished. But what they don't appreciate is when you're in a specialist role, you de-skill. Within months, you de-skill. But they expect you to be able to do the role of a response officer at the drop of a hat whenever they see fit. And that is extremely difficult because, say I've been a licensing officer for 2 years, right? I've not been out on the street doing the role of a response officer during that time. I've de-skilled. I've completely de-skilled because the way you deal with jobs changes fast. The information you're required at jobs changes. How you arrest people, how you take people into custody, how you process them, how you pull together files for court. it all changes really quickly. 2 or 3 months, you can be out of date. And when you de-skill like that, and then one day they say to you, we want you to go back out on response this weekend because we're short of staff. And I'm like, whoa, I've not been out for 2 years. I don't even know the procedure anymore to go to a domestic. That is stressful. That's really stressful. And it affects your confidence. And I think I de-skilled. And as a result of de-skilling, I also lost a lot of confidence in dealing with jobs. And when you start losing your confidence, it affects your mental health. It affects everything, really. And I think in the end, I just felt like I couldn't do it anymore. I felt like it was just too difficult to keep on top of it. Because really, when you're in a specialist role, they expect you to know the job of 2 people. They expect you to be able to be a response officer and also do your specialist role. Well, you can't. It's not possible, really. I don't think it's not possible to keep on top of it. Because if you're a response officer, that's all you do. You don't have to go and be a specialist officer as well as a response officer. So I think I de-skilled. It caused me a lot of stress. I lost my confidence, and having dealt with all the different jobs that I dealt with over the years, I just think it had taken its toll up here. So I don't think I could do it anymore. And so I looked for a way out, and I found a good job, and I left. So I did 13 years. The good thing is I have actually got a fairly half-decent pension coming to me when I'm 60. So when I'm 60, I'm going to get a part-time wage from a pension, which will be nice because I'll be able to step back a bit from selling shit like this. I'll be able to step back a bit. Yeah, so that's kind of how it ended. I think that I couldn't take much more. I think if I'd have carried on, I might have ended up off sick, genuinely. And I'm not a sick person, but I think like when you reach capacity and you just can't take any more, I think I was at capacity. And I think I had to leave for my own sanity. A bit like what the chat was saying earlier on, the lady who had been or the person who had been a cop for 10 years but couldn't take any more. Very similar to that. No worries. I'm glad you found it. I'm glad you found it interesting. I'm really proud, Dave, of everything that I did, and the people the lives that I touched, because I definitely did. I know that I did. People appreciated what I did, and I'm happy with that. Thanks, Nigel. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. James says, question, do you think you would have enjoyed the job more? It's something that I've discussed with Annabelle. I think it would have been a different job down here, a different kind of job. It's much more rural. There's less population. There's different kinds of crime. I think it would have been less busy, but there'd have been different types of crime. So maybe I would have enjoyed it more. I don't know. Did you ever watch the US TV program Cops? I possibly have done, Rob. I do watch sometimes a lot of the cop programs. And do you think you should still report in something after you have left? What do you mean? I don't get that one, Dave. What, report a crime or? And do you think you should still report in something? Yeah, of course. If you see something going on, yeah, shout it out. Shout it in. Ring up. Only certain officers, trained officers, have tasers. Not everybody. Still here, Maximus, and still here, but we're coming to an end. I actually thought I could keep this within an hour, but obviously not. It's awesome that you got out when you did, and yeah, man, I've heard about the police pensions. My brother-in-law was with the Met. His pension was insane, but the police have a great pension, right? But they pay for it as well. When I left, I was paying 500 quid a month into my pension, right? It gets matched a bit as well, so there's more that goes in, but I was still paying a hell of a lot into my pension. So you don't get it for free, but what you do get is a very good pension. I was paying £500 a month out of my wage on pension alone. But I will get a part pension. I will get a part-time wage when I get to 60. JR says it's I feel like I understand you a bit more. That's good. Yeah, I'm pleased about that. And don't forget Night's Life. Subscribe to him. He's a lovely man. Leanne said I took a lump sum of 19 grand plus £280 a month police pension after 10 years. Enjoyed the chat, brought back good memories. That's good. That's not bad though, is it? A lump sum of 19. I think when I retire, well, when I get to 60, I'm going to be eligible to get my police pension. And I'm going to get two pensions actually from the police. One very tiny one when I'm 67, or when it's official retirement age. I will get a tiny little pension, like £50 a month or something, because the pension's changed partway through my service. So I'll get that. But when I'm 60, I should, as it stands now, I'll get about 11 grand a year. But obviously, by the time I turn 60, it's index linked. So it goes up by the cost of living every year. So by the time I'm 60, I don't know what it'll be. It might be 13, 14 grand a year, 15 grand a year. I don't know. It depends how much it goes up each year. It goes up about 2-3% a year, doesn't it? So, yeah, I'm going to get a reasonable part-time income when I'm 60. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, John. Have I missed anything? I'm glad I got out when I did, because I was on the verge, I think. I really think I was on the verge of like going off with a long-term mental health problem. Definitely. Do you have experience doing it? Yes, unfortunately. Plenty of them on a Friday night on YouTube, I believe. It's called Drinking with Andrew. From Google, the maximum pension entitlement is 72% of your salary. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I've not looked at it. I get a yearly statement that tells me what my pension's worth every year still, even though I don't work for the cops anymore. Is there anything else? I think I've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to say. I hope I've got across the fact that not all cops are bad, and many of us really joined, I would say, the vast majority. If you've had a bad experience, which I know some of you have, that's not the norm. I'm telling you now, that's not the norm, because most of us want to help, and most of us want to have a positive effect and deal with your crime, deal with your incident, deal with your tragedy in the best possible way. And I think I was a different kind of officer to many in the way that I dealt with things and the way that I dealt with people. But I'm proud of the way that I did that. And there is a place for all different kinds of officers in the service, because you do need different kinds of people. It's like when I was pulling together like an operation, like or a warrant, I know who to take with me on that. I know the person who will put the door in I know the person who will want to do that. I know the person who will want to make the arrest. I know the person who will be good at documenting all the search and tagging and bagging of evidence. You know the people who, and you know their skills, and you need all different kinds of people in the police service. It's not all about using your fist. It's not all about making arrests. Arrest was always the last resort for me. Always. I always took it very, very seriously that I had the power to take away somebody's liberty. I always took that super seriously. So, and I think most do. In fact, I know most do. That's it for me. I'm going to get off my soapbox. I wanted you to know about my life as a police officer. That I was a decent person, and I still am, really. I think I am anyway. I don't think Belle would be with me if I weren't a decent person. That is it. That is it. I'm absolutely exhausted. I feel like I've offloaded. Not like that, but I feel like I have offloaded. Really enjoyed this. Great insight. Former traffic cop Ben Pearson and his battle with PTSD. Wow, that's interesting. I'll look that up. Ben, let me write it down. Ben Pearson. I'll look that up. And if anyone, I know there might be a few people watching who are still serving police officers. I still have some friends on my Facebook who are. I take my hat off to you, 100% guys or girls. I wish the public would give everybody in the police the credit they deserve. Yes, there's some bad eggs, but the majority are there to help. So that's it for today. We're back on tomorrow, 8 p.m. for our normal Monday night live. It's Reseller World. Me and Belle will be here. And I think it's going to be a free-for-all. So if any of you guys want to come on live, we can have a chat about anything you like. Just come on. I think we're going to just do a free-for-all. Anyone want to come on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. is the place to be. We'll just call time there, I think. Let me find, do I need to do an outro? I don't know. I've not thought about that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Really hope you found it interesting. We'll see you again soon. Take care. And of course, stay safe.